what it is, it's a swimming 7-star hotel. That's what that is. So everything that you dream of, every luxury you want to have, everything that you can think of when you wake up or when you go to bed, everything's been taken care of. And there is a lot of management involved, a lot of provisioning involved. You have to think of everything. You have to think ahead for every potential occasion. Whatever is needed needs to be there, because that's what the standard of a 7-star hotel is, right?
Hello and welcome to the Ronnie Lever Show, where every week we bring you fascinating guests with inspiring stories of success and overcoming obstacles from the worlds of sports, business and entertainment. To support this channel, please subscribe, turn on the notification bell and hit the like button so that we can deliver you the best content possible. Her story sounds like out of a movie. Just before finishing her university studies in Vienna, she took a time out in Florida. From an au pair, started making connections in the yacht industry, and from building up a private island at the Bahamas to being a private chef on a mega yacht in the South Pacific, her life was nothing short of an adventure. She organized luxury fairs and headed several global marketing departments, changed her career paths several times, and what she's doing now, we're going to get into that right away. So please welcome, without further ado, here is, I'm happy to have her on the show, Nina Haberlehner. Woo!
Hi, it's so good to see you. Thanks for having me. Super, super excited about our exchange today.
Oh, so great to see you as well. And when you hear all of that, like when you look at your life today, and I know that you have looked at it quite a lot, thinking back of your journey, what comes to mind to you?
Well, hearing you play that back to me makes me think, who is that girl and can I meet her? It kind of sounds like somebody else's life, but yeah, it was an adventure. It's amazing, and I love actually listening to you say it rather than me tell it.
Then it sounds true, doesn't it?
Well, I know it to be true, so yes, but it really doesn't. No, it doesn't seem. You know, when you're in the middle of your adventure, when you're in the middle of creating your dreams, it doesn't seem so special, or it doesn't seem particularly cool, or particularly something that you think you're gonna look back at and say, "Wow, this was amazing." So after doing all of this and at the end of the road, now actually summarizing it like that makes you wonder, no, actually that was quite cool. No, actually it was something to be proud of.
And just to actually be saying something to that, you're not at the end of the road yet, not by far, not by
By
any
far.
means.
True.
But you know, let's go back to the beginning, because that's not something that you can imagine as a kid. Like, I'm gonna be, for example, a private chef on a yacht somewhere in the South Pacific. Like, especially coming from Vienna, where there's not even an ocean close to Austria. So, what did you think that you were gonna become when you were a kid?
Well, that's a good question. Originally, I thought I'm gonna become an interior designer, but then my mom always told me there is so much mathematics involved, and I hated mathematics, so I thought, no, well, that's not gonna be my path. And then I just thought I'm gonna live a very normal life, studying international business administration, following in my father's footsteps as being the head of marketing in some company, and then I don't know, becoming very successful at this. And then there was this other side of me really wanting to travel, really wanting to see the world, and just being creative and enjoying life, really making the most of it, not making the most for everybody else. And that was me deciding to try something else and being brave in doing so. But I didn't think that would be the outcome of it, to be honest. I just followed a dream that I thought was great.
The reason why I also was thinking that you would be a great add to have on the show is because there are so many lessons in your story, and there's so many life learnings, and also it's an adventure, and for many people it's a dream. So let's take a step back to actually how all of that started, because you went to school, you graduated from school. It was a school with a business major. Afterwards, you went to the University of Economics in Vienna, and you also were studying a marketing major, and you were basically almost done. And then you had a calling. Basically, you moved to the US. So tell us how that happened. And I'm sure your parents were maybe not so amused.
Maybe. uh, great summary. That's pretty much how it all started. I was just doing the works, and I was just doing what everybody else expected somebody from Austria to do, study, and become I don't know, a major in something. And like I said, I always wanted to travel, and I was looking for ways to do that, but there was no money. There was no opportunities to have a job someplace abroad with my age. So I was just continuing to wait for an opportunity to show up. And when I was, I think, 23 years, I was almost done with my major. This one opportunity came out of the blue, and it was literally being an au pair for dogs. And I'm not joking. It wasn't even a kid's au pair. It was an au pair for a miniature and a giant schnauzer in Florida. Attached to it was also being the assistant of a diving school. So there was this huge struggle inside of me, thinking whether I should now kind of take a pause and a break and move to Florida, a dog au pair and an assistant in a dive school, or to continue becoming a marketer and running my own business and doing what, like I said, everybody else expected me to do. It was really a big struggle. And, at some point, I decided, F the others, just pick up the challenge, and I moved to the States.
Wow. What made you actually, like, what was the tipping point? Why did you actually do it? And also, what did your parents say?
The reason why I did it is because I felt this was me. I had the bureaucrat in my head saying, hey, continue your studies, otherwise you're not going to become anything. You're not going to be successful. You're just going to, like, don't take any risks. And then there was the free thinker inside of me thinking, oh, you always wanted to travel. Hey, this is your chance. There's not going to be another opportunity coming around so fast. Follow your heart, chase your dream. There is a difference between being a dreamer and being somebody who chases after that dream and actually making it real. That was the decision-making process, and that's why I finally did it. My parents, of course, weren't too happy, because my father, being a bureaucrat himself, thinking, well, child, statistics say you're just gonna screw it up and that's not gonna work out good. And my mom was just being a typical mom, saying, oh my God, my daughter going all the way to the States all by herself, that's just nuts. But she was supportive. So yeah, I bought my plane ticket with the little money that I had and said, well, venture, I'm coming.
All right. So okay. So take us with you, because from there I actually started out an adventure for several years that is quite mind-blowing and hard to grasp for anybody in a traditional job or in a traditional career path, so to say. So you went from being an au pair and diving school assistant to actually the next thing that is on your classical resume or CV is managing the rebuild of a private island at the Bahamas.
Yeah.
So how is
fun
that?
story there. So I was only planning to be there for 6 months and then go back to study. And after the 6 months came to an end, I met a lot of people in the yachting industry in these 6 months. I met a guy who was an engineer at Mastercraft Boats in Tennessee. He was just doing a sea trial for another wakeboarding boat. So I kind of hung out with those guys in the evenings and during the day, and got in touch with the yachting industry first time in my life. And after the 6 months came to an end, there was
you were not a boats person before or something?
No, never been on a boat before. Oh, well, maybe when I was a kid, I think once, but it was inflatable. So does that count? Probably not. No, so I wasn't a boat person before, but I met those beautiful people, and I was quite fascinated by the industry itself. I mean, it's mega yachts, it's those ones belong to the rich and famous that you can only dream of. And it was really fascinating. But the crew on those yachts, whether it was captains or chefs or just stewards, were so down to earth. They were just really fun to hang out with. So that's how I got in touch with the industry, how I kind of also made my friends in the States first. And when the 6 months came to an end, my gig of being a dog au pair and a assistant in a dive school kind of was finished. I really struggled again, making that decision whether to go back and finish my degree or to stay longer. And after kind of fighting that battle too, an internal battle between the bureaucrat and, again, the free thinker wanting different things, I decided to stay and got in touch, or actually a yacht broker got in touch with me, because it was a hurricane season at that point, and I think there was Hurricane Charlie just left, and there was another hurricane coming our way, and this one left a lot of damage in the Bahamas. And then there was this beautiful private island called Sandy Key, with a main mansion, and a lot of little guest houses for the owner's friends. And there was a gym on it, and all kinds of fun toys and tools. And Hurricane Francis, I think it was, kind of blew over that and destroyed a lot of it. And they were looking for somebody with a business background to deal with the insurance, to work out everything that needs to be solved there, and also to rebuild those particular beautiful houses that were there for the guests and the owner. And since I was majoring in business and also having a background in all of that, they asked me to fly to the Bahamas, to move to the Bahamas in my little private jet and fix that. So that's what I did. It was exciting and insane, and nothing I expected that would happen, actually. But it was fun.
Very cool and very incredible. And then when you were there for a few months, managed that, and then suddenly you were working on Mega Yachts.
Yeah, I was there for 3 months, and it was particularly on the weekends. It was quite lonely. The Bahamas were full of men and not very many women, and my friends were in West Palm Beach, so it felt lonely at times. And I made friends with the pilot of the owner of the island, and he kind of flew me back every weekend to meet my friends. It all sounds so surreal telling this story, but this is just what happened. And after the 3 months came to a close, the insurance was happy. The houses were rebuilt. Everything was back to normal. They offered me to stay longer, but I really didn't want to stay longer in the Bahamas. It sounds so beautiful, but if your friends are not there, it's still like a bunch of remote islands. So I flew back to West Palm Beach, and then I got a job offer in the south of France, working on a yacht there. So that's when I moved to the south of France, and that's where the story continued, being on Mega Yachts for many, many years.
So you were in the south of France, like on the Côte d'Azur, like basically in Cannes and in Monaco and Antibes, and you were basically, take us with you, because you said living on Mega Yachts for many years, and well, probably 99% of the people will never actually, or have never set foot on a Mega Yacht. So tell us, how is actually living on a Mega Yacht, and what, like, how big is that? Just to give it some proportions, how many people work on that, and what is it like?
It varies, really. To say a Mega Yacht is this and this size, and this is how many people work on it, that doesn't work, because it really depends on how big you want to play it, right? There is from 26 meters up to 50 free stories, with helicopters, without helicopters. Some Mega Yachts have another Mega Yacht attached to them, because that's where the crew lives. So it really varies. You can, as big as you can dream it can happen, and probably even bigger than that. In my particular case, I was working on yachts that were around 30 meters, and crew between 5 and 8 max. And in Antibes, we were a very small crew. It was just 3 of us. It was a smaller yacht. And I also, it also always, there is a difference between who you work for. There is particular cultures that make it harder to work with than others. So I was always looking for somebody owning the yacht that was adventurous, that was fun, that was obviously rich enough to own this, but obviously also fun enough to want to work with and to hang out with. So there was always a balance to be found to really be happy on such a big yacht. And what it is, it's a swimming 7-star hotel. That's what that is. So everything that you dream of, every luxury you want to have, everything that you can think of when you wake up or when you go to bed, everything's been taken care of. And there is a lot of management involved, a lot of provisioning involved. You have to think of everything. You have to think ahead for every potential occasion. Whatever is needed needs to be there, because that's what the standard of a 7-star hotel is, right?
Of course. So when you began working on those Mega Yachts, what was your job like? What did you do?
I was staying in Antibes at that point, and there was another yacht in Juan-les-Pins. So I was kind of going back and forth between those 2 yachts, and I was yacht sitting one yacht because there was no owner yet. It kind of changed owner at that point. So they
Yacht
were
sitting. That's
yacht
like the au pair for the going from the au pair for the dogs to the au pair for the yacht.
and it is, I would call it, it takes up the same maintenance actually as dogs. You kind of need to take it out.
The owner or the yacht?
Both. Yeah, so it was a yacht sitting in Antibes, and in Juan-le-Pin, it was about creating an inventory. It was a boat that was going through a refit. That's when the yacht is hauled out of the water and kind of everything gets goes through maintenance. You make sure that everything is in order, that everything's on board. So somebody needs to create an inventory, seeing if the yacht needs new provisioning or anything else that the next guests might actually need. So that's what I did there, and I was helping with the refit. So I wasn't really playing an active role on any of those yachts yet. I was actually just, which I found more fun. I was the one visiting the yachts and then doing something and then actually going back to my own house and having a fun time there. So yeah.
And then, so that was in the south of France. And then actually you got a job on a yacht back in Florida.
Yes, that's actually quite a fun story because people always thought when I talked about my life, oh, it sounds like a vacation. And it was a never-ending job. You kind of work 7 days a week, and sometimes you work from 5 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the morning. And since I didn't come from money, everything that I made needed to be put towards living in a particular place, right? So there wasn't extra or something. So with this gig of yacht sitting one yacht and then doing the inventory on another yacht, there wasn't tons of money coming in, and there was another job lined up in the south of France that I was kind of waiting for. But that job took more patience than I thought. So it took me longer to get that deal happening. And at some point, my money was kind of running out. I was there with a friend, and we were saying, well, we can't do this much longer. At some point, we need to really find a full-time position on a yacht again or something else, because, where are we gonna live? And I think it was the last day of us still having enough money to buy a bottle of red wine and filling up the gas for the car to drive back to Austria if worse comes to worse. And we were sitting in this restaurant with this last glass of wine, kind of a little tipsy, already feeling better about ourselves. Like, oh, whatever, if the job doesn't come through, it doesn't matter. We make it happen. What red wine can do to you. And at this moment, we got a call from a friend from Florida saying, hey, you know what? There is a position as a chef and the captain available in Florida for a really amazing trip going through the intracoastal all the way up to New York, to Lake Erie, and then the Great Lakes. And it's a yacht just run by two. So it's literally for me and my friend. And everything was paid for. The flights were paid for. So we decided to take the car back to Austria, drop everything off, say hi to my parents, and then pretty much get on the plane and go back to Florida to do this trip of a lifetime.
Wow. How many years have you been, like, at this point? How many years have you been away at this point? And also, what did your parents say to that? Like, oh my God, my daughter, she almost graduated from university and she's basically all over the place, but she's not doing what she's supposed to do. Or how was that?
I think at this point it was probably a year and a half, I guess. And I think my dad was still shaking his head. I think he hasn't stopped at that point. And my mom was better with dealing with the anxiety she had because I was living abroad and traveling so much and doing all of that. My mom was never worried about jobs. She was never worried that I would not make it. That was not her fear. Her fear was, oh my God, what if my daughter drowns? Or what if she ends up in the wrong street? My dad was more concerned about me not making it in life if I continue this lifestyle. And he didn't mean harm by that. He was just really worried about his daughter. But I think they were still struggling with me being gone for so long.
What were your thoughts at the time? Because also for everybody, I mean, I believe that there are many people out there who would love to do something like what you did, or who would love to go out and embark on an adventure of a lifetime. And there are a lot of doubts in people's minds or in people's heads, like, oh my God, I have no idea how to start. I don't know how to do it. I don't know, well, what if this happens? Like many more what ifs that come to mind, and also fears and doubts and to also overcome that? What was going on inside of you?
It was a war zone inside of me. So this was not an easy decision, and it was a decision I made every single day, and sometimes twice or three times every single day. There was two struggles that I had to deal with every day. One was I'm insanely shy. I always have been. And so the one struggle was to do all of this, to go on an adventure all by myself, to get on a plane to Florida, to meet people, all of that by myself, and being incredibly shy. And I'm not talking the fashionable cute shy, the kind of shy that, oh my God, it takes her 5 minutes to say hello. No, I'm talking the shy that makes you wait outside of a room for 2 hours before you dare to enter to say hello to somebody. The kind of shy that makes it hard for you to get on a bus because maybe you need to speak to the bus driver about something, that kind of shy. So this was something that I was struggling with every day. And then the other thing was always this constant fight between the bureaucrat saying, hey, this is not how it's supposed to be. This is not good for you. This is not going to work. This is going to ruin your life. This is not how everybody else is doing it. And then the free thinker saying, hey, but follow your heart. This is working for you. This is cool. This is your life. You only have one, and it's not going to be going on. It's not going to go on forever. You never know how much time you get. So make sure you live it authentically. And it was an everyday decision to live with this fear and to fight the fight and to overcome my shyness, which I never overcame, but at least I tackled it every single day. So it's not something that comes easy. When people say, hey, you just make a decision and then that's that. No, you have to decide every day, but it's worth it.
It's very beautiful. And you were talking about the shyness holding you back and also the inner bureaucrat holding you back. What was, on the other hand, what kept moving you forward? What was it that, like, the dream or adventure, what was it? Like, what were or also the character traits that moved you forward?
It was just, there was just no doubt that if I don't tackle my fears, then I won't ever be able to live a fulfilled life. So if I let myself be stopped by what's making me scared, then what's left? It's not the life I want to live. I have dreams, I have visions, I have ideas. They might not work, don't get me wrong. I might have a dream and I will fail horribly. But the fear of failure shouldn't stop me from trying. It should not stop me from doing anything. It's the same with I'm majorly afraid of heights, super scared to get on a ladder. Ladders and I are not friends. But I love being up in the mountains. I love skiing. I love flying. So what am I going to do? Am I not going to do any of these things, or I'm just going to accept that I'm super scared and do it anyway? So I went bungee jumping and skydiving and paragliding, and I'm up on the mountains every weekend, and I definitely don't stop skiing, even though I hate going up the gondola. Just like, yeah, face it over and over again, and just be aware that you live with it. It's okay. It might become a friend at some point.
Wow. You let's go back to your timeline, and like basically went up to Florida to work on a yacht, and you were actually doing some, basically not even like on the ocean. You went to the Erie Sea, to Lake Erie and so on, right? Or what?
So yeah, we went on the intracoastal, which is inland, all the way up to New York, and then you go through the locks. There is tons and tons of locks where you kind of move up rather than stay on the same level. And then I went through those locks to Lake Erie and then to the Great Lakes, which are magnificent and beautiful in itself. It was an unbelievable trip. So yeah, this was really a trip of a lifetime. It was, the owner of the yacht always wanted to do that. He bought a yacht particularly for this trip. And I was lucky to be on board for it, and it was stunning. Then I think that was probably 6 months or something, and we came back to Florida after 6 months, and at some point I heard the bureaucrat knocking on my door again, like saying, hey, maybe you should go back to Austria now and finish your degree. And this time, for some reason, he sounded convincing. He sounded more like a friend than somebody who wants to stop me. And I thought,
he is the bureaucrat inside of you. He is the voice, right?
Yeah,
Inside
he
of
was
you.
the voice. Yep. The bureaucrat was the other voice. There's two voices always, the bureaucrat and the free thinker, those two. They like each other by now, by the way. They became friends. But back then, they weren't friends at all. They really hated each other. They just didn't agree. They didn't agree on anything. So yeah, I after 6 months more, I decided to go back to Austria to finish my degree, to kind of listen to that voice and see what comes out of it. So I ended up back in Austria, signing up for my studies again, wanting to finish the last, I think I was at 85% or something. So it wasn't long anymore to actually get my major.
And life had a different plan.
Yeah, again, right? It always has a different plan. And I took a part-time job with an industrial designer that I really, really liked. It was a cool company. I was working as the marketing assistant of the CEO. Great time working with him. And I also went to a couple of networking events. And at some point, and I really do not know how that happened. Another
the shy
CEO
person going to networking events, just
yeah,
to
I also don't know how that happened, honestly, but I got better at it at some point. People really never noticed that I was shy. I was like super putting my mask on and shaking underneath it, but nobody noticed. So yeah, it's also a matter of training at the end of the day. So I was working for this guy for 3 months and then continuing with my studies, doing it the proper way, the way it's supposed to be done. And there was another CEO that came across my CV or whatever he came across. I don't know. At some point, this guy knocked on my door and I didn't and asked for a meeting, and I didn't know what the meeting was about. I didn't even understand how did you get hold of me? And we started talking, and I have this trait that I just tell people what I think they're doing wrong. It's like, it's always been this way. I think this could be improved and this could be improved, and how about fixing that? So I do this all the time. Seems to land me jobs. I did the same with him. And after a couple of hours talking, I think, he said that he's super unhappy with his head of marketing and he wanted to offer me the job. And obviously, this was not a part-time job. Obviously, this wasn't remotely a full-time job either. It was like a very, very full-time job. And there was another struggle again. The bureaucrat saying, hey, you wanted to finish your degree and you already have a great job here. So what are you even thinking about? And then the free thinker said, but this is kind of what I'm studying for. This is kind of the chance of a lifetime again. I mean, me in my age, who would have thought that after being gone for so long, I get offered the head of marketing? Like crazy, right? So after going back and forth, tossing in my sleep, I finally made the decision to say yes, and realized that university and I weren't a love affair that's gonna last. So after, at this point, probably 89% or 90%, I really said studies are over. I signed up for becoming the head of marketing for this company.
So and you were organizing luxury fairs basically in Vienna, and at the time, right, where you were the head of marketing. And how long did that last? And what did you take with you, like from the first time being the head of marketing? Because later on, you had several more stints on that. But yeah, take us with you.
It wasn't luxury fairs. It was just one. It had, as a role model, it had the Millionaires Fair in Russia, and the owner of the company wanted to bring the same format to Vienna in the Hofburg, in the Imperial Royal Palace, and I think it was just a couple of weeks before the kickoff event, and nothing was done. The old head of marketing really loved his role, and he loved his title, and he loved everything that comes with being the head of marketing for such a good company, but he didn't really like the job. So when I showed up, it was a war zone. Nothing was done. Everything was in pieces. And I had another colleague that was new to the game, and the two of us worked, I think, 16-hour days to fix that. We didn't sleep much. We didn't do anything but work, actually. But the first event came around the corner and it was a big success. So we actually pulled the car out of the mud and made it beautiful and shiny and took it through this fantastic road trip of this luxury fair. And I did that for 2 years, and it was a never-ending job. There was always something to be done. So it was a challenge every day, and I really liked it. I really appreciate challenges. Otherwise, I get bored, I think. And after after I think a year and a half into it, I thought I felt there's a roadblock. I felt there is no movement anymore. But it wasn't because of what I did or what my colleague did. It was because the market wanted something else, and the owner of the company kind of didn't seem to want to adjust to that. And I realized that no matter what I do, that's not gonna change, because I can change it. I'm not owning the company. I can change what I see. If he doesn't agree with it, so I decided to.
So before we go to where you're going next, let's also let's capture one thing here, because what we've learned so far is that on the one hand, you were never shy of working. Like you might be shy in your private life, but always in terms of work, you always put in lots and lots and lots of work. Like you are somebody 100% committed, and you are somebody who always wanted to make a difference, if I understand it right. Like if the job was something where you could make a difference, it was great. If it wasn't, then it was like, okay, that's not for me. Like you were not just sitting around to collect the paychecks. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. If I see potential and it can be tapped, I find it very hard. So I'm going to do everything to make that potential come to life. But if at some point I see there is nothing more to be done, not in the role that I'm in, that's when I don't want to continue and just be successful on paper and have the company be successful on paper. I really want to make a difference with everything that I do. Yes.
Beautiful. So now the yachting or being on yachts, the career is not finished. You had your first head of marketing, but then actually there came another adventure and in a completely different role.
Yeah. So at the end of these 2 years, I realized again, nothing more can be done. And I also heard the free thinker knocking on my door again and saying, hey, you've never been a fan of Vienna. You're living in Vienna again for 2 years. What are you doing here? You kind of need to get out of here again and see what else is there. And I knew that going back on yachts was an option. But I kind of didn't want to go back into the same roles. I wanted to try something else. And I wanted to do something creative and challenging and something that I've never done before, and something that I could really use also my love for design, because I still, even though I didn't become an interior designer, I still love design more than anything else. So I thought, well, why not become a private chef, right? Cooking on Mega Yachts. It's not a fixed menu. You can cook every day something else. It's all about plating. It's all about presentation. It's all about the creative artistry of the food itself, but also the design of the plate itself. And I really loved that idea. And I thought, all right, yeah, well, that sounds like a good idea. Where am I going to do that? And then first thing that came to mind, obviously, was France, because where else would you learn how to cook? But then I thought, yeah, I lived in France already, and I love France. It's beautiful, but is it really where I want to go back to? And the place that I always wanted to live was New Zealand. So I did a little research, and I found this French cookery school, this program actually, that was about winemaking and food, French food, in New Zealand, in Christchurch on the South Island. And so I packed and hopped on a plane and moved to New Zealand. So that was the next stop.
Wow. So basically at that point, has your I'm just thinking again about your parents, and also because I'm saying this because whoever is out there and whoever is like wanting to do something different, something that is not normal, there are always going to be voices of people around you that want to put you in a certain direction. And of course, they always mean the best for you. At the same time, it might not be actually what you want to do. So I'm just thinking your parents or your dad, who was finally like, oh, finally she came to her senses and went into marketing. How was that when you told him then again, like, well, it's not for me. I'm going now to become a chef in New Zealand.
Well, he wasn't the biggest fan of this idea, obviously. He was just so happy that I finally, had this career jump, and he was excited, me being the head of marketing. And yeah, he was he was definitely not throwing me a farewell party. That's for sure. But I think at that point also he had started to trust that I would make it. So it wasn't it wasn't the path that he would have chosen for me, and he still wasn't sure how far I would make it. But he wasn't worried anymore that I would, I don't know, end up under a bridge, not knowing what to do next. So he saw that much, at least, and that was good. But my dad and I, our relationship really got intensely inspiring after several years after that. So at now my dad is my biggest fan, but back then he was still too worried to see all of what's possible.
Well, I can relate to all of that in a way. So take us to New Zealand. You went to New Zealand and you started with the cooking, and then another opportunity arose.
Yeah, it's really funny. I feel so blessed and lucky because I really never had to. I was just trusting that something would happen, and if it didn't happen, I just willed it to happen, or I don't know, I worked hard enough for something to show up. So I think even if this opportunity hadn't come up, there would have been something else. But lucky enough, it did. And what it was, I was staying in Christchurch, I think, for 6 months or something, finishing my degree, my cookery degree. I was staying at a house there. I had a car and a motorbike and bicycles, and it was fun life. And I really enjoyed it. I loved New Zealand. This is really where my heart's at. And then I received a call from friends from Florida, the same crew that I've been working with, the same people that were my friends even before they worked with me. And they said that they were coming to Auckland with a mega yacht that needed a refit. And they would rent this beautiful mansion, this villa on the coast. And there is an entire floor available just for me. And that I just drive up and join them and help with the refit for 6 months. And I was like, oh my God, I mean, how much fun is that? Going to see my friends again, hanging out with them, living with them in this big house. So I packed up everything that I had after finishing my degree, and I drove up to Auckland to stay with them, to move in with them in this house, and to work on this refit with them together. And we met so many beautiful new people and friends along the way, and it was just so much fun. It was an unbelievable amount of fun up there. And then 6 months later, after a year being there, they were actually supposed to leave and go on this beautiful trip across the South Pacific, Fiji, Vanuatu, Samoa, Tonga, Hawaii, all of it. And I heard about the trip, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds like a dream. How beautiful is that? But there was no availabilities on the yacht. There was no crew that they were looking for. So I just kind of prepared to say goodbye to my friends and do something else. And then, surprise, surprise, I think a couple of days before they parted, one of the crew members decided that they are not going to stay on longer, that they actually want to move to New Zealand and they are going to get off the boat. And so I got off the boat, and that was the next leg of this beautiful journey.
Wow! So then you basically became a private chef on that mega yacht in the South Pacific, and you were even designing the menu and the wine menu and so on. Like I can literally see it in front of me, because also we got to know each other from work, and I know how detail oriented and how everything is basically fitting together. And when you touch something, you touch it wholeheartedly. So just to sum up the experiences from yachting. First of all, what would you say, because you also got to travel a lot, what were the most beautiful and magnificent places that you got to see?
Oh my God, you want to make me pick? That's difficult. So if I had to pick one place that I loved the most, it really was New Zealand. That was really the place that I felt most at home. I love the people, I love the food, I love the culture, I love the scenery, the landscape. There is ocean and mountains, and I love both. So that was magnificent. But when you think of the remote islands of the South Pacific, when you think of Samoa, or you think of Tonga, or you think of Kiritimati, or wherever, this is all of those places. To be away from the hustle and bustle of the madness of Western civilizations, to just be focusing on the now, on really enjoying the quiet and the peaceful nights. That was touching my soul every single moment of the days and the nights that I spent there. So there's so many beautiful places. Canada was phenomenal. The south of France, obviously, too. So much of the United States are just mind-blowingly beautiful. Asia, all of yeah. You can't make me choose. I won't.
So basically, to sum it up, there are incredible. There's beauty pretty much all over the place. It's just also for us to really see it.
Yeah, it's a different kind of travel, right? When you travel for work, when I would travel as a CMO, I go to a place, I do my job. If I'm lucky, I get to look around for an evening or the morning, but it's not the same as really integrating yourself in a place, really becoming part of the social scene, or becoming part of the environmental scene, or becoming part of just the trees, whatever that is. So that's a different kind of traveling. And the thing that I always needed, though, because it sounds like just being on yachts, just working on yachts, really never scratched my itch entirely. So I always needed to add something that is also intellectually me, that I can use my creative skills with. That's when you mentioned creating a wine menu. I really went into graphic design again, and started copywriting flavors. And then I created my own website, because I thought this is how I want to share my memories with my friends and my family, rather than Facebook, which came out 2008, just when I did that. So I always needed something more. I started videographing. I started to really add all these features, photography, to make all that I needed, to put all of that I needed in this one experience, or in this big experience.
I want to add a different point as well, because also through your yachting, you got to, and of course throughout your career, you got to work and also to engage with lots of very high profile people, like very rich people or abundant people, and so on and so on. And for many people, when they're just starting out, and especially when you're not coming from money, as you said, there are all those beliefs like, oh my God, like they might be whatever you might be thinking about them. Yeah. What has been your perspective about them, about dealing with many of those high profile people?
Well, the most important part of high profile people is people. So it's people. Be curious about who they are, and not what they are on paper. Same goes for me, right? Be curious about who I am, and not what I am on paper. Just be open, and do a reality check with yourself. Check your values. Why are you worried about why are you worried talking to them? What makes you scared of them? Is it them, or is it you? Is there something that's not fully developed yet inside of you, that makes you shy away, that makes you, I don't know, see them only for one thing rather than everything that they are. So that's the one thing that I try to apply. Be curious. Who's standing in front of you? It's not just a name. It's not just the title. It's not just a movie. It's not just an album, an LP. It's a person. It's more than the high profile. It's the people.
I think one of those beautiful lessons also that people can learn from you, or that somebody can learn from you, is that basically anything is possible, anything that you put your mind to it. And there is an amazing story also about that when it comes to Tiger Woods, or the famous singer Rick Hale, or even flying business class.
It's a really small story. It's nothing. It sounds bigger than it is, because it's not. You're throwing these big names in the room, and it's like, oh God, what happened? Nothing big happened. It's literally just about being resourceful, and like you said, just trying, make something happen. And it all evolved around my dad's birthday, actually, or my dad's and my mom's birthday. And my dad is a huge golf fan. He's a golf enthusiast. He I don't know. I think he speaks in golf metaphors for the last 2 years only. So that's his thing. And for his 60th birthday, I wanted to create something beautiful for him. So I went to interview every single person that was important in his life, role models, friends, family, and see what he contributed to their life, and the other way around. And I also thought it would be so fun if Tiger Woods would congratulate my dad and say something to my dad. I mean, my dad's a big golf fan, so he's a big Tiger Woods fan. And I thought, well, that would be fun, right? Unrealistic, but fun. And so I'm good with research, and I kind of managed to connect with him actually with Tiger Woods, and I asked him if he would be so nice to send my dad a message for his birthday. And that worked, and he did. And something similar happened with Rick Hale, who is a musician, and he's doing a lot of covers and mashups. And one of the mashups I really liked was a mashup between "Fly Me to the Moon" by Sinatra and I think "Lucky" by Jason Mraz. And this song alone has 10 million views on YouTube alone. So he is a name. It's not somebody that you, I don't know, find around the corner to quickly chat up. And I thought this is the perfect song to actually rewrite lyrics for, and I really would love to get that instrumental to use it as music that I want to write for my dad. So I got in touch with him. Also, again, just trying to find a way to connect with him. And also, he said, "Of course, for your dad's birthday, I will actually send you the instrumental version of my song, so you can use it to gift your dad with it." So yeah, everything's possible. You just try, and if it doesn't work out, well, what have you lost?
Or business class. You told me before also, like when you, for anybody, like everybody, when they buy an economy ticket, of course, it's always a dream. Oh, maybe I get an upgrade. But you got that many times.
Yeah, it happened to me many times. Yeah, just walking up to the counter. What is there you have to lose? You talk to a human being about another human being experience, and so that worked. Yeah, upgrades. I seem to have a hand for upgrades. Probably not after this interview anymore. After this interview, I'm gonna be in front stage at all of those airlines and saying, "Well, you don't ever give her an upgrade again." But it did work.
Wow. So just talking with them. Okay, beautiful. So let's jump ahead a little bit, because you went back after that. You really came back again to Austria. You came back to being a CMO, like the chief marketing officer, first at several companies, and the last one that you were was the global head of marketing for the global market leader for strings, like for orchestral strings, like violin strings and so on. And also that's where we met each other. And you did an amazing job. Yeah, just to but I actually want to go to where you are right now, because right now you are a brand architect, a marketing consultant, a personal development and leadership co-active coach, and a creative one-stop shop. What does it mean?
I'm trying to connect all the dots between everything that I am and everything that I want to give or do, both actually. So I took a wrong turn from this beautiful dream that I lived to come back to Vienna, and
that was a wrong turn for you.
It was not an expected turn to come back to Vienna. It certainly wasn't something I planned, but it happened. That's another long story for another long interview. Regardless, I ended up in Vienna again, and like you said, as the CMO for a global market leader. Something also that statistics probably wouldn't approve of. It was a really successful job. I did this for 7 years. And really changed the face of the company. And it was great. It was fun. It was so much work again. And I don't remember sleeping much in those 7 years either. But at some point, I really felt there is something missing that I kind of lost on the way of being in this particular career, being this successful, being the name of this title, this very important title that I mentioned before. Sometimes you kind of that seems to become everything, and I realized it's not everything to me again, and I really want to do something that is more soulful than just being a business developer, running the successful marketing for a company. And so I decided to leave that beautiful job behind after 7 years. And that was also a very tough decision, because it comes with all kinds of benefits, as you can imagine. I mean, global CMO of a market leader, that is a really good job for a marketer. That is the dream come true, when you can change the face of a really, really renowned company that is 100 years old already. But I wanted to do more. And so I decided I still want to do marketing. I still want to consult. I still want to help brands find their identity, their soulful identity, becoming the best they can possibly be, adding the advertising to it, because I am a copywriter, I am a graphic designer, I am a videographer, I am somebody writing campaigns. So adding all of that to the mix to really make sustainable, great, soulful marketing, but then also to be a coach to help personal development and growth, but also brand development and growth. It's a similar thing, actually. It's interesting that it's all soul-driven, brands and people. And so I decided to do that and combine those beautiful C's, the creative, the consulting, and the coaching into one thing. And that's what I do now. And I love it. And it's another journey. It's not a journey that takes me on yachts on the water. It's a journey that takes me inside myself and inside many other people that want to see what's there, that want to explore, that really want to go to the bottom of things and say, hey, I think I can do this, you know? And that's inspiring. That's so inspiring to see how much resources there are in other people that they just need to know how to tap. And once they do that, whoosh, the explosion.
It's very beautiful. And we're going to put the links to get to you also, of course, in the show notes. And last but not least, Nina, 30-second last thought, anything that you would like to give to our audience?
Don't listen to other voices and F the statistics. If it was for statistics, I should have not been the CMO of a global market leader. If it was to statistics, I probably shouldn't have become the head of marketing with 25. If it was to statistics, I shouldn't have traveled so much because based on what's finances. If it was to statistics, I probably should have a kid and a man and 2.5 kids by now. And if it was to statistics, I shouldn't be happy right now. And all of that is the case. So yeah, I don't know, just F the statistics.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being on the show. Let's give it up, Nina Haberlehner.
Let's give it up to Ronnie Lieber.
Thank you for sticking with us until the end. To make this content even more valuable for you, please leave a comment below and share your thoughts, and also share this video with somebody you care about who absolutely needs to see this. Thank you very much. Have an outstanding day and see you next time.